Should it have popped up, or is it like so? Oh, here we go. Okay. Waiting for Travis' email at 3:35 p.m.
There we go. Let's see.
Oh, now you're a man, man. Now you're a man. Looking good.
Yeah, I think we're looking good and it sounds good.
Cool. Oh, now
I'm just
you're
messing
a
with the levels.
man. Am I gonna be able to hear myself? No, wait. I have the volume off. Okay, yeah, good.
Let me turn my mic up a little bit since
Do
I'm
you need me to
further
keep
away.
talking?
Okay. I'm gonna start sharing it out. So just gonna have my head down just for a second.
Oh,
Did
stop
you
it.
get to anything else, by the way? Last time I talked to you.
Did I tell you that I installed a graphics card and two
Yeah.
sticks of art? Huh?
Yeah, you did.
Okay. Yeah, that was it. I just made my sandwich and fixed the computer,
Cool, cool.
and I had to dust it because, god damn, there was a lot of dust in this thing. Just plumes of smoke coming out of it. I'm still concerned about the cooler, the CPU cooler leaning. It's definitely leaning. I don't know if it's been like that or what.
Yeah.
It doesn't.
By,
I mean, everything's running.
yeah. By the way, I think I might stream to about like 4:30, and then depending on how I don't know if I'm gonna do one tonight or anything, but I'll let you know if you might be interested.
Maybe I can't remember if I have something to do tonight or not. I know at some point I want to go walking, because it's cool today, and so it'd be a good time for me to go take get a little bit of exercise. You know what I'm saying?
What was that?
Apparently not.
Oh, I didn't hear that last part.
I said I know at some point today I want to go walking because it's cool outside and I could use a little bit of exercise.
Oh, that's yeah. Well, that's a gimme.
Fuck you, you formerly fat piece
Hey,
of
hey,
shit.
language. This is a family-friendly podcast.
Oh right, sorry. I'm the only one that's
I
watching.
can't cut. I can't cut that out.
My bad.
No, it's karma.
Oh man. All right.
Let's see.
Share. Copy. Okay. Let me add some people.
All right. Got one viewer. Might be you or
Well,
someone else. But
I mean,
hello, viewer.
if there's one, it's me.
It said 0 before. There we go. And one more. I'm gonna share it to my art page. So I might ink that Wolverine, but I figured we could talk about maybe Comic Cons. Maybe I might talk about my worst portfolio review, which was at New York Comic Con. But I'll just leave out the specifics of who and what publisher it was. Adam.
Yeah, I'm listening to you.
Yeah.
I'm just adding a few posting it to a couple places.
Okay, thank you.
Now you're a man, man. Now you're a man, man.
All right. Prove that. Okay, so I guess I can get started. So maybe I'll warm up with a different sketch. I probably do want to ink this one. I thought about doing it on a separate video, but I'm not too sure. This is like the Weapon X. I just realized the video you might be seeing is going to be on delay itself, Adam.
Yeah, but that doesn't matter.
Yeah, so that... do I want to do Cyclops today?
If you were cool.
So I've been on a big X-Men kick, but I don't know if you overheard me when I was talking yesterday. The X-Men had like some of the coolest cards in general for a lot of these. However, I realized an underappreciated set is probably this Marvel Universe Series 2 cards. Because, like, they had some early Art Adams stuff. Like, for like, a random character like Death's Head, that's a pretty cool card. You're going to see in a second.
I mean, that wouldn't be early Art Adams. Early Art Adams would be in, like, the early 80s.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
I thought he got started more late 80s. Like, around the time, like, McFarlane and them came around.
I mean, I don't know exactly when, but it was well before those cards.
Yeah. Well, what do you know, Buck Adam?
Not a lot. I mean, I just happen to have like early Art Adams. I think his first major thing was Long Shot #1.
Okay.
Let's see. Marvel Long Shot first series. Long Shot #1, September 1985. So he's at least been around that long, if not longer.
Yeah.
Let's see. The interesting thing about Art Adams is his art style hasn't changed really at all. It's gotten more refined over the years, but stylistically, his line work and all that's pretty much the same.
Yeah, it's at least the inking style and the way he does hatching in there. You can really tell when it's him, just because of the amount of detail he puts in stuff.
He was so cool. Did you get? Were you here when he was in town?
No, but I saw him at New York Comic Con. He signed my the variant cover I got.
Right. Yeah, no, he was cool.
Yeah. Very nice gentleman. Was kind enough to sign my book for free because apparently he was charging for signatures that day.
Oh.
Which I don't blame him because a lot of people just, especially when they were getting this variant cover, it was probably just so people could try and sell it because I did see it go immediately on eBay that same night.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.
No. But I was just shocked. I mean, maybe he's one of those people that doesn't know how beloved he is. Like he's a legend.
Yeah.
And but he was like real humble and shit. Oh, sorry.
It's all right, man.
It's just only me right now.
Remember this the next time I mess up when we video for your channel.
All right. To be fair to me, like I'm posted on Twitter.
Okay. We're the exception to the rule. Got it.
I forgot that we were recording. Now that I'm up, I'm gonna be on my best behavior.
Whatever, hey, dude. Whatever you gotta tell yourself to feel good about yourself. Whatever. That's fine.
You're such a piece of shorts.
What are we on basic cable TV? All right.
Yippee-ki-yay, Mr. Falcon.
I'm tempted just to keep with my X-Men thing to do the Cyclops, the Ron Lim. It's actually a pretty cool card. Or I feel like switching things up, maybe do a Venom. You might see in a second. This is a series. I can't think of this as. This has to be a series.
What
4.
about that Deadpool card we discussed?
I have to actually hunt that one down. I would have to use a. Let me go find it. I have the. He said it's a Marvel Universe one, right?
I don't remember. I think it was a Jim Lee X-Men card.
It's the Jim Lee X-Men ones?
I think so.
Okay.
Is that Series 2 Venom?
Which one you're talking about? The Cyclops
No.
or the
No, the Venom.
Venom? That Venom that I had up on the screen, that's Series 4, I believe. Series 3 or Series 4. I get those confused.
Alright, yeah, I was wondering because I didn't think that was Series 2, but I thought those were the ones you were choosing from.
So the one, the Deadpool you're referencing, that if it is, yeah, is it? You're talking about the one where he's standing on the roof?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the Jim Lee. I'm kind of surprised that he drew him like that, but and also hid the feet. Very very Liefeld thing to do. Maybe I'll grab that red paper I have, and I'll do that Deadpool and some of that red paper. Did you see that Phoenix that came out, by the way?
Yeah. No, I watched. Did I watch the whole thing? The thing was like I had other things I had to do while you were live streaming.
Yeah.
So I was in and out, but yeah, no, I saw the finished product.
Yeah.
No,
just show on. This will pop up later, even if we don't have that many people. Well, any people really on the live stream. That's weird.
I wouldn't worry about it.
So yeah, that's. I think it came out really good. The Jelly Roll pen that I used, this gel pen, the white gel pen, really made it pop when I traced the figure.
Yeah, it did. The problem is when you're penciling, it's often hard to see.
Yeah.
And that's actually why I suggested the white ink, because it's gonna come out against the red.
Yeah.
But
well, I mean, when I have to pencil, I got to pencil it.
I mean, if you were a good artist, you wouldn't have to.
Oh boy. I guess I could go with the gel pen too and go over the wingtips.
I'm just messing with you, dude. Nah, I'm just saying, like, I wouldn't use the red paper for this, because it's just, you can see it, but only barely. It kind of strains the eye.
Yeah.
I'm not saying don't ever use the red paper. I'm just saying for your live stream, it's not a good one.
Yeah, I see. I would like to use it just for that because it's a Deadpool one.
Well, then don't do Deadpool. Do something else. I'm just saying, like, if the point of it is to live stream, you don't want your audience like tuning in, like they can't even see what you're doing. What about Gambit? We talked about Gambit.
Yeah, I got something I can pull up. Actually, let me look through the X-Men ones. Wayne Barrett shared my post.
That dude.
There we go.
That Fuddrucker.
I do feel like when I hear like words like that, I feel like it's like the basic cable censoring.
I love those.
I gotta remember with Die Hard, they would change everything to like oh man, shoop or something like that. It'd be some weird S word, other version of an S word or something.
I'm sick of these monkey fighting snakes on this Monday to Friday plane.
This Monday to Friday plane.
Yeah, that one and Die Hard 2 are probably my two favorites ever done.
Man, just looking through these Series 2 cards, could do Colossus.
Yeah, Colossus sucks. He doesn't, but I don't know.
Okay.
Well, do what you find fun.
Yeah,
She was
just like Colossus.
She was like a super random.
Uh, there's tons of these because they have to fill. They had to fill this void right with these cards. Um, I don't necessarily think this is a necessarily random, but there's Maverick from Weapon X, and I can't even make out his mask in this. It's so kind of weirdly drawn.
I always liked Maverick. It's a very Jim Lee design, though.
It's very busy.
Can you hear the dogs barking in the background?
Oh yeah, but it's not a big deal.
Let me go close my window.
No, it's all right, man. I wonder what is going on for MainFrame Con. What's going on with MainFrame Con right now?
Whew. Alrighty. Back in the saddle.
Okay, well, just because this is going to be probably re-recorded, it's going to be re-uploaded later on YouTube as a full video. But a quick spiel, if you go to check out mainframecon.com, mainframecomiccon.com, you can go there. I did the exclusive variant cover for Arc World for this con. Definitely check it out. If you like any of what you're seeing here, I have other art for sale on my website, www.artoftravishemail.com. There's a web store there. Also, above me, I have a list of commissions with prices and my email address up there. So feel free to contact me, or if you have any questions, you can contact me there. I have my buddy. Are we calling you Buck Lightning today, or are we just calling you Adam?
We can call you. You can call me whatever you want, Honey Bear.
Oh, okay, Honey Bear. Is that what you want me?
I mean, I always went by Cuddle Bear for a while.
Yeah, well, I don't really, I can't justify that name.
You don't feel comfortable calling me Cuddle Bear?
Not on the stream. Maybe in the quiet, of a room with some candles.
I mean, hey,
Yeah.
I feel like it's a nice, safe name. It describes me accurately, I didn't realize you'd be embarrassed.
While we're in the plug kind of segment, do you have anything you wanted to plug or anything?
Yeah, I have a channel called Lightning Culture.
Yep, that I'm on as well.
Yeah, you're on like 90% of them. We mostly we've been talking about comics. Technically right now we're talking about comic related movies. I think this week we're probably going to record 2, and it's most likely going to be one is going to be the final part of the Spider-Man movie series we've been reviewing.
Oh, yeah, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse.
Yeah, and I was thinking we could do another art combos because I have the Art of Into the Spider-Verse art book.
Oh yeah. Actually, I remember talking to you about that when I realized it was available, and I think you went out and bought it that day because of how much you liked it.
Yeah, and it was I bought it from not Barnes and Noble, but what's the other one? Not Second and Charles, but the Books A Million. Books A Million was the last place that had it.
Oh, okay. Well, it's not Books A Million. It's Second and Charles, right? That doesn't exist.
No, Books A Million owns Second and Charles, but they both still exist.
Oh, okay. I thought it didn't exist. I thought they folded that.
No, not yet. I mean, there's definitely one in Slidell, Louisiana right now.
Yeah. So real quick, do you think for this Cyclops that keep flashing on the screen, Do you think I should leave it costume as is, change up the pose? I almost want to do the '90s Cyclops Jim Lee one with kind of this, or unless you want me to do, I could do what you wanted me to do, which is the Jim Lee version from the X-Men cards.
I don't know why, but I am more partial to the Jim Lee version. The one that you're holding is essentially the Walt Simonson design.
Yeah.
Which he originally had a skull cap. It was very old school X-Men, except for the giant X, that they all had as uniform. And then I don't know if it was Walt Simonson or somebody else took the skull cap off, and then eventually Whilce Portacio redesigned his uniform a little bit. Most notably, the white became yellow, but there was other little flares here and there.
Well, it pops a lot better too when you actually send that to color.
Unfortunately, the white isn't a great choice for that costume, and I don't know what it is specifically, but it just doesn't quite work.
Yeah,
it's not bad. It's just not
good. Yeah, and it's a good pose. It's very similar to the one, the Jim Lee one, except in the Jim Lee one, it just kind of he has like smoke coming from his visor.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's so funny. Like as a Cyclops fan, I've always like been curious, like what went into the thought behind his powers, because he doesn't have laser beams.
Yeah,
he has force beams, but for some reason, like ruby quartz refracts it, so it's just this weird power that no one really knows how it works.
Yeah.
Because, like, in theory, like, when he opens his eyes, it should blow the visor off of his face.
By the way, you know what's funny? If you look close at the card, there's, like, a weird error that they made on the blast. It looks like it's supposed to be a straight line on the top. It looks like it jutted out like us. Like, no one will notice. Probably a little inking screw-up or something. Let's see. I need a pick, man. I need to stop being so indecisive.
All right. Well, let me make a suggestion.
Yeah, I'm open.
I know you're doing this because you've been doing the cards lately, but what if you just pulled up the image of Age of Apocalypse Wolverine and did that one?
Okay. Yeah, I can do that.
Because I mean, those designs were like all the Age of Apocalypse designs were really, really amazing. The Cyclops, where he became an actual one-eyed character, and he had a mullet.
Let me see. Hold on.
Jean Grey was a badass.
I remember the comic, and then like the figures came out, and because you already know, I'm a big Toy Biz action figure fan, and they had some really cool action figures that came to coincide with this.
Hey, I never saw any of the figures.
Really?
No.
Yeah, they had some. Look it up real quick. That's some cool. I mean, the Wolverine. I will say the sculpt for the face of Wolverine is not the greatest, but some of the other characters look pretty good in it. Okay. Yeah, we can go pretty wild with that. And I kind of pulled this other Wolverine card that I had. Maybe I'll do something similar with that pose. Maybe I'll change the pose up. I like how it's striking the camera.
Yeah, these figures are pretty cool.
Now, a lot of those older Toy Biz ones are. Let's see.
Well, some of them are pretty cool. I'm looking at one Weapon X figure that looks horrible.
Are you talking about the one that I showed off yesterday on the stream? The one I was using as a model?
I'm not sure. He looks like a Kabuki character.
Oh.
Like it's the facial expression that ruins it.
Wow.
And then for some reason they, like in the comic, he lost his hand and it's just sealed off. But like in this, like they gave him like weapons that he can shove into his socket.
Yeah, that is that like I guess to make it like, hey kids, it is Wolverine. Funny enough, it's these same stupid claws they gave him on the Weapon X toy, and I was talking about it yesterday because it looks like scuba diver or like swim fins when you look at it. These dumb freaking claws.
Well, I mean, that's always been a way that the toy industry's, built kids is like they come up with like, okay, we're gonna give Batman like Arctic scuba gear.
Yeah.
So they release the same figure, they put a different paint on it, and then they just pay a few extra dollars to.
I mean,
to
this
come
is
up
the
with
weapon.
little...
This is the Weapon X figure, though. This is
Yeah.
Like I said, really just weird stuff that they chose to do on this.
Man, I really like the new Marvel Legends figures. There's a few that I've almost bought because they're so detailed and like they go with these characters that nobody would ever expect to have a figure.
Yeah. Did I tell
Like,
you I ended up at a thrift store. There was like someone apparently had a boatload of Havoc and they had one Jean Grey Phoenix Marvel Legend going for $6, and I bought the Jean Grey. I'm not a Havoc fan, but in hindsight, I probably should have bought him for being so cheap.
I'm a huge Havoc fan. In fact, I would think as an artist, you would probably have the most fun drawing. Like Havoc's so interesting, like especially like when he's using his abilities.
Yeah. No, it is, and I don't know. I'm just not a fan of the character. The only weird thing I will say about everything about the figure is cool, but the hair looks weird.
Which figure?
You'll just see it in a second. It's the Jean Grey Phoenix.
Oh.
But it's like a $20 figure for $6, brand new in box.
I don't think anything's wrong. I mean, the hair's not the right color. It should be more red.
Yeah, I think there is a variant though for that as Dark Phoenix. It's just the repaint.
Uh-huh.
But I kind of got it because I have the Toy Biz Phoenix figure, and I just wanted to get that all together. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh. Speaking of Dark Phoenix, like there was this thing this was a few weeks ago, and somebody was interviewing Felicia Day. You know, because they have these celebrities that the media decides are like the definitive quote unquote nerds.
Well, I think she did because she did that web show. Not just was it Dr. Horrible sing along, but she also did like another one that was like a World of Warcraft kind of thing.
Yeah, it was called like not the League, but the
Guild.
The Guild, yeah. No, but yeah, it's that and other stuff. And look, and I'm not knocking her. But it's just weird to me that like her, Patton Oswalt, and Kevin Smith. Oh, and of
Kevin
course,
Smith is on MainFrameComicCon.com.
And of course, my favorite, Wesley Crusher, are the official like nerds.
Was that being sarcastic about Wesley Crusher, or you actually mean that?
No. Obviously, I love Wesley Crusher. Actually, I don't have a problem with Wesley Crusher. I don't like the actor Will Wheaton. But anyway, they were interviewing. They were asking her like what her favorite comic book characters were, and one of them she said was Dark Phoenix. And I was like, well, Dark Phoenix isn't really a character; it's just the evil version of Jean Grey. Like it's a costume.
Okay. So, well, I mean, why does that bother you though? Just because he's more of that?
It just, I don't know, sounds fake. Like it's just a weird choice. Like if she was just like, oh, I love
You sound like
Phoenix,
a
I'd be like,
conspiracy
all right,
theorist.
huh?
You sound like a conspiracy theorist.
No, I know what a conspiracy theorist sounds like.
Do
Nah,
you?
you can kiss my ashtray.
Hello, additional one viewer. Hope you are enjoying the stream.
If
Uh,
you're watching because I told you to, you can turn it off now.
no.
Travis sucks.
Please stay. Make me feel important. All right, so I
Uh,
got the kind of the card shape done. Even though I'm gonna be doing Weapon X, I was like, if I'm gonna do it, I guess I might channel this Andy Kubert pose, right, and then I'll draw in um, Weapon X Wolverine from Age of Apocalypse.
so I
But he's
just
gonna have a
checked.
stump, I guess, charging the camera, or maybe I should reverse it.
I don't know. So I just checked. We had discussed through the chat. Uh, oh, that's cool. Andy Kubert.
Yeah, I thought that's what I said, Andy Kubert.
I think you said Adam, but Adam Kubert's the one that's most associated with Wolverine.
Yeah.
He and he drew the Weapon X comic, but that's Andy.
Yeah, it's really a cool card. If you take a moment, I mean, this was the like. There's a pattern I've been seeing in some of these cards in the last couple of days. Is they love to add in smoke in the background when when they're just trying to throw in a background. You know, like it's always smoky when the X Men show up to battle. Apparently.
Well, you got to figure these guys weren't paid a lot for these cards. They probably were just like, all right.
Well, from what I read, some background stuff on this, as uninteresting as this might be, there was good money in it, and it made them good money because it didn't take long to do these cards, and that's probably one of the things to help them is they do like solid black shapes in the background or some smoke or something. They didn't really have to have really super detailed backgrounds on these.
Look at how much trade dress is on
Yes.
that card.
They intentionally. I don't know if they because the art does extend past that. Whoever was doing the trade dress on here, yeah, they definitely crop it. There's so much going on. I think they did
For the
that
one
because when
person,
they would package it with they would package those same cards with the toys. And I think they were doing it so like the trade dress on different stuff was just super visible on that, I guess.
for the one person who's watching and potential other people who might watch this at some point, trade dress is what's referred to as like all the lettering and other things that are added to the cover of a comic book or a graphic novel. So in this case, like the Wolverine name I'm
Yeah.
referring to as trade. It's not technically trade dress because trade dress refers to like the trades, the book, but it's the closest. I mean, I don't know what I'd call it. Card dress, I guess.
Yeah. So right now, real quick, I'm just gonna take this pose. I'm gonna have my scrap piece of paper here, and I'm just gonna like flip the pose. So, because if I drew it the way the pose is now, the stump of Age of Apocalypse Wolverine is gonna be what everyone sees. Like that's what he charges in the battle with.
Probably so because it's weird and scary.
It's weird and scary.
So I just looked a minute ago. When I was in the chat yesterday, I was telling you I was pretty sure Barry Windsor Smith wrote the
Yeah,
Marvel Presents Tale, and according to Wikipedia, he did right. When you say Chris Claremont, I actually assumed you were right because that sounded
Oh,
right.
I wasn't 100%. I just figured because he had his hand in a lot of the X-Men stuff.
Yeah, almost everything was written by Chris Claremont at that, especially at that time. But I
Yeah.
don't think the Weapon X story was intended to be like a big thing when they came up with it. Like it wasn't like it's not like now when if there's an X-Men thing, like the entire Marvel company has a retreat and
Yeah.
discusses it. I think it was probably just like because Marvel Comics Presents was their anthology series that they had out for a while, and they would just like throw random stories that didn't fit anywhere into it. And but yeah, apparently Barry Windsor. I knew he did the art on interiors, but he did write and
I
draw it.
mean, we could talk about. Well, he has, he had a tremendous career in illustration, but the covers in particular for these are incredible. There's some of the best Wolverine covers. I guess you can count it as just a Wolverine cover, even though it's just like the Weapon X.
Yeah, um, which they retconned. I think Grant Morrison retconned all that. It's technically not as it was at the time Weapon X, but now technically it's Weapon 10
Okay.
because the idea was that the program was actually called Weapon Plus, and Weapon 1 was Captain America.
Yeah, I actually was going through that, and they expanded it more. I think Donny Cates did some stuff with it when they had was it Venom or something like that. I didn't get a chance to read it, but it was like Nick Fury, Wolverine, and some soldiers in Vietnam who were using like these symbiotes.
Um, hmm.
And apparently, these symbiotes were part of the weapons program.
um, Deadpool, as I recall, is actually Weapon 13.
Okay, about to say, you're gonna see this real quick, or actually, I'll send you the link. I'm gonna send you. I was just looking for another photo of this, like a better photo of this Series 2 card. I'm gonna show you this Cyclops one real quick.
Why? Just to be a tease?
I just was curious of your opinion on it because I don't have the card. But anyway, so I kind of wanted to talk about. By the way, if you, unless you want to keep going about these, I was gonna just talk about the whole con thing because this is a bunch of. There's been so many online Comic Cons popping up, and I was thinking about like stuff that I'm gonna be missing because I don't even know if there's gonna be any cons this season. Um, I might be if the con isn't canceled again. I might be doing Kansas City Comic Con in August unless that gets pushed back or canceled again. But yeah,
Yeah.
I was gonna say if you want to talk about any like really fun comic book Comic Con experiences you had, or maybe I might talk about that. And I think I mentioned earlier maybe eventually I'll talk about maybe showing my portfolio at New York Comic Con and talk about that for a bit.
Um, yeah, I have a pretty mixed history with comic book conventions. My first one was actually what do you call it? The one in Orlando.
Was it MegaCon or not MegaCon?
MegaCon.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it, MegaCon. And it was an amazing experience. I really had a good time. It was a small con then. It wasn't a big deal. And at one point, it was like and I don't think it lasted, but for like a couple of years, it was like the fourth biggest comic book convention in the United States. And I
Okay.
went one of the years, and I mean, the number of people there was insane. But it was so cool at the time because you could go up and like have actual conversations with artists. And I know I had told you, before he became kind of a political figure in comics, I had like this really cool experience with Ethan Van Sciver.
Oh yeah, you were mentioning that. So this had to be this was at the time when they had Green Lantern Rebirth. Then.
No, this was after that. This was literally right before they launched Flash Rebirth
Okay.
because he was still hot, and then Flash Rebirth came out, and he wasn't hot that anymore. That hot anymore, because that wasn't a good series. Um, but yeah, he had shown up late, but not through any fault of his own. Like something had happened, like his plane got delayed or something like that. And so he was. I remember he was sitting next to um, Adam Kubert, who we're both big fans of. Oh, Travis, that whatever you sent me didn't come through.
Okay, I'll send it
It's a
later when
broken
we're off
link.
the chat.
Okay, that's no big deal. But but yeah, so Adam Kubert was like charging for everything, which if he's charging for sketches, totally. I mean, especially for
Yeah.
not Adam Kubert, Adam Hughes. Was
Oh,
I
is
saying
Adam
Adam Kubert
Hughes?
the whole? I meant Adam Hughes. I don't know why I was saying Adam Kubert the whole time.
Because we were talking about this Wolverine pose that he did. This
Right.
Wolverine card. Sorry about the
Um,
pose.
but no, it wasn't Adam Hughes. It was Adam Hughes, and so Adam Hughes, he was charging for signatures too, which at the time wasn't that. It's done more now, and I'm still pretty anti charging for signatures unless it's one of those people that because they do have these idiots who walk up with like 3 or 4 long boxes of comics, and they're just like, yeah, I need you to sign this pile of 500. Yeah, charge that guy. Charge him several $100s at least because he's holding up the line. Actual fans who aren't just trying to make a quick buck can't get their stuff signed. Um, it's a waste of your time. But in general, I'm pretty anti, charging for signatures. But anyway, and I'm not talking smack about Adam Hughes. Like I don't know anything about him as a person. I'm sure he's a nice guy, but he was right next to Ethan Van Sciver, and when Van Sciver showed up, like the line was, whew, at least 100 people deep.
It was huge.
Yes, yes. But I was probably like 15 to 20 people into it, and he shows up and he's apologizing. He's like, "Look, guys, it's like my flight got delayed, so I couldn't make it yesterday. I'm so sorry. Just give me a second to set up, and like I'll get started." And without a word, he started doing free. And for the people watching, I don't know how much y'all know about comics, but there's head sketches and then there's busts. Busts, and actually Travis has them listed. Headshots is literally just the head. The bust comes up to just past the breasts, but usually doesn't include arms. It's literally like an old bust that you would see in like the Haunted Mansion or something. But anyway, so he was doing busts for everybody who was in line for free. And at the time, like I could have sold this thing. I still have it. And it wasn't, because it's easier for an artist to just like if they're doing something like that, just be like, okay, I'm just drawing Batman.
Yeah.
Like, and they just do the same pose.
Oh yeah. Well, especially if you do a side profile stuff, if you're just doing like a quick head sketch, and you just do a side profile. Especially with Batman, it's pretty easy, right?
Yeah, I would imagine. I mean, the cowl is you could do in probably 6 lines.
Yeah.
But he wasn't doing that. He was like, "Who do you want?" And so at the time, Flash Rebirth was about to come out. Green Lantern Rebirth was pretty big. No, wait. This was right after Sinestro Corps' War.
Okay.
So right before Flash Rebirth, right after Sinestro Corps' War, because I asked him for the Superboy Prime, who was prominent in that Green Lantern story, and he did it like no charge, and he was friendly.
Yeah, as much controversy as that guy has around him, I guess he would probably debate me on that, but he does seem good at least talking to people, right? Very personable.
Yeah, I don't think he hates anybody. He's probably pretty resentful at this point from being blackballed.
Yeah, but I don't want to go into that. But yeah, go. But
No. But I will say though, like my second experience with him was he was never rude to me, but he is kind of an odd guy, and because I went to him and I was working for another convention. I was working for Wizard World as a photographer, as a volunteer. I wasn't getting paid, and because Wizard sucks. But I went up to him and I was like, "Hey man, can I take?" Because when they hire these volunteers, they all try to go take pictures with the celebrities. Like Keanu Reeves or whatever. Which I understand Keanu Reeves, but you know what I'm saying. Like
Keanu Reeves was there.
no, but I'm just choosing.
Oh, you're making an example. Okay, sorry. I was like, because Wizard World used to get some really good guests like that.
They still do. They still get like pretty decent international guests. I mean, it's never. Well, I mean, like Chris Evans did a bunch of them. He did Wizard World New Orleans.
Yeah.
But so the volunteers, they all go for like the really famous people, and they were ignoring all the artists, which to me, I'm like, dude, you're at a comic book convention. Like you're here for comics. Like I understand like the celebrities are the real draw, but like at least give these people some attention. Like Chris Evans doesn't need another photo of him. But I went up to him and I was like, hey, can I take your picture? I'm working with Wizard. And he looks at me and he's like, look, man, I'm kind of having a bad hair day.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right. I was like, wait. I was like, I've never gotten that from a guy before. Like, what? But
what a response, huh? Like, if there's a bad. I mean, to be honest, if he just didn't want his photo taken, that's what. Or if I didn't want my photo taken, that's probably what I would say.
I mean, but he could have just been like, nah, dude, I really don't want to get my picture taken. I would have been like, all right,
Hey, dude, sometimes people don't want to tell someone no.
Well, I like the truth personally.
I'll keep that in mind next time you ask me something.
Anyway, but yeah, but the first year that I went to MegaCon was pretty awesome. Because you got to have like a lot of one-on-ones with artists. I had another experience with Brandon Peterson, who was a big X-Men artist in the 90s. And I had a copy of, speaking of Wolverine, what was it called? Fatal Attractions, where he lost his adamantium.
Oh, yeah. I have that too. Being a 90s kid, I had a lot of those.
Well, so I had a copy of it, so I went up to him and I was like, "Hey, man, can you sign this?" And he's like, "Yeah, sure." And he accidentally spilled water on it.
Oh no!
He was like, or Coke or something like that. And he was like, "Oh my god, dude, I'm so sorry." And I'm like, "Dude, it's Fatal Attractions from 1995 or whatever. It's not worth anything. Like, don't fret over it. I'm not mad." He's like, "Well, let me do something for you." And he had like. Well, it was, I mean, he was a pretty big X-Men artist. So I was like, you want to do a sketch for me? And he goes, no, I'm not doing that.
Huh.
I was like,
really?
All right. Yeah, Well, what's funny, though, was like, he was like, look, man, just come back and see me later in about an hour and I'll figure something out. I was like, all right. And I was like, look, man, like I said, it's not worth money. It's an overprinted X-Men book, from the 90s. Like, you don't have to worry about it. I was like, I might be able to find one here and just get you to sign that for like $1, And he's like, no, just come back. So I came back and the dude gave me, and I still have it, his sketchbook, and he drew. Well, let me look. I think he drew something on the cover. I mean, on the inner cover. Oh wait, maybe he didn't.
Yeah.
No.
I was about to say, did you all just like make this up in your own head?
No, he did. It wasn't the inner cover; it's the secondary page.
Okay.
But yeah, he drew Wolverine. Pretty cool, sketchy. His style changed a little bit, and he just wrote "Sorry, Bub" in the word bubble, and then wrote "Sorry about the spill, Brandon." So it was 2009, But yeah, so I have his art book here, and like really clean, good looking stuff. It was a lot better than the stuff, in the 90s with X-Men. But unfortunately, I mean, nobody knows who Brandon Peterson is except for the two of us. But um, he's one of those artists that he's not a bad artist, but he's not good if you have to rush him.
Same.
And his style. Wait, what?
Same. I'm not good at speed, like doing this live. I'm so used to doing having training wheels on. We're doing digital, like doing this again in pencil and ink is it's like I'm trying to run through mud, in terms of my speed.
Well, why don't you explain? Because I'm assuming the people watching this aren't artists. Like what you're doing, I know what you're doing.
So right
But
now,
it's not necessarily evident to the average person.
Yeah.
But this is the building blocks of drawing a comic.
Yeah. So right now, well, let me take a few steps back. So this scrap piece of paper, and you can see some of the ones left over from yesterday. This would be something you would call like thumbnailing, or just these rough sketches. And I would do this to kind of figure out poses. So there's my Weapon X pose that I had for Wolverine originally. There's a saber-tooth pose I was working out. Dark Phoenix. And then this was like the Wolverine, just kind of get into my head of what I was looking for. And so when I'm going here, I'm kind of going, off that. And I keep fiddling with the hand because the hand looks really weird, actually, in this one. And I think it's almost to make sure it doesn't go off panel on the original sketch. But right now, I'm just breaking down his body into shapes. And I think it's most evident on the arms because once I drew in his torso, I wanted to figure out how that arm was constructed, and it's supposed to be going out. And I kind of want to fix the arm a little bit, but I'll basically break down the body into shapes, and then I'll go back a little bit later and add in more anatomy, and then I'll go in and start adding in my finer details. And that's basically what I'm doing right now is the phase of kind of just building up this figure, and just figuring out the pose. And this is one thing that I like digital. Like for instance, I don't want to keep redrawing this, but I would like to make this at least maybe 5 to 10% bigger than what I drew it. But it'll be fine. It's fine for what this is. I would just like it to fill out or maybe bleed out of this panel box that I made.
Yeah, as an artist grows more comfortable with specific characters, sometimes you can draw them without the bubbles, depending on what the situation is. And there's also a thing that a lot of artists do where they'll use life models. So they'll take, a picture of a model from a magazine and use that person so that if they're in the right pose. And there's even artists that'll spend hours taking pictures of themselves with a camera.
This is like a bootleg. You're gonna see in a second. One of these bootleg drawing models. I didn't realize this is bootleg when I bought it. I should have judged from the price I paid for it. Funny story behind it that they weren't going to give me anything until I did a PayPal complaint, and then sent me this. And the joints for the hands are they don't really work well compared to the normal ones. The joints are really terrible on this thing, but I use this every now and then if I need to make certain poses.
Well, just even with experience, it's hard to just come up with a pose that looks realistic.
Yeah.
And a lot of times the goal is for it to look realistic, even though it's a comic book. Human beings can recognize when something doesn't look like it's functional.
Yeah. And you'll see this in a second. I'm just breaking down the hand into a little bit more of a few more shapes, kind of drawn in ball and socket kind of things, and trying to figure out that hand a little bit more.
So if you're unfamiliar, the Travis is drawing Wolverine right now. But he's drawing a very specific Wolverine. It's the Weapon X Age of Apocalypse version.
Yeah.
And Age of Apocalypse, if you're familiar with the movie X-Men Apocalypse, that's a version, not a great version, but a version of Apocalypse. And there was a storyline where Apocalypse, in an alternate universe, basically takes over the world, and there's a genocide of human beings. And in this universe, Wolverine gets one of his hands cut off.
Yeah, that's gonna be this back one. His backhand is the one that's cut off.
So that's his left hand.
Yep.
And it's a really cool, striking. There was a lot of really interesting designs that they came up with, because I'd say one of the most fun things for artists is to draw like apocalyptic stuff, because like you get to really use your imagination. People love that sort of Mad Max.
That was a fun story though too. That fun story. What, I don't know how many issues it was, but it was a fun little run that they had.
Each series was 4 issues, and then there was, I want to say, 9 to 10 ongoing. Because basically what happened was there was a I guess an intro issue like Age of Apocalypse Alpha, and it ended with Age of Apocalypse Omega. So those were bookends. And in the meantime, all of the various X-Men books that were coming out at the time were rebooted as new series. So instead of Uncanny X-Men, you would have Extraordinary X-Men or something like that. I don't remember what they were called. But and instead of Generation X, you had Generation Next.
I remember that one.
And it was crazy because you would see characters that you loved, and some of them were evil, and like not evil like in a cartoony way, but like murdering people that characters that you loved. And at one point, Colossus accidentally kills his wife, Kitty Pryde, who was a pretty beloved X-Men character. Yeah. He does it on accident. He didn't do it on purpose, but when you read that as a kid, you're like, oh my God, like, what are we doing here?
No, I mean, they eventually did. No, not in, I guess in the main X-Men continuity, tongue-tied, continuity, or still messed it up. Can't say it. But they killed her off and brought her back eventually.
Who?
I think that was was that Josh Whedon or
Joss Whedon. Joss Whedon, but they killed off who?
Kitty Pryde.
Oh, you're talking about he didn't kill her off exactly. It's kind of hard to explain, and it's really not worth explaining. But he did take her off the chessboard, so to speak.
Yeah. I'll say that. Yeah.
But yeah, so he's drawing the Weapon X from Age of Apocalypse, and it's a pretty beloved series. They've tried bringing it back a few times, and it doesn't quite work. I mean, I think that's the thing that like we find with all these like reboots of TV shows and stuff like that. Like, it always ends up something other than like it's true what they say, you can't go home again. And like, you don't want the new version of the series that you love. You want the feeling that the old version gave you. So like they rebooted a show that I love, Veronica Mars, last year, I want to say.
Didn't they do a movie
They did a movie
4 years ago though?
Yeah, they did a movie. I actually contributed to the Kickstarter. It was, at the time, it was the most successful Kickstarter movie that had been done thus far. It made a lot of money. And so they made the movie, and they did some novels, which were pretty good. And then they decided, like, recently, like, all right, we're going to reboot the series. Well, not reboot it, but we're going to continue the series on Hulu. But it's not like the original series. It's a lot more serious and stuff like that. And a lot of the characters that people like are gone. And so, like, all the fans are like, this sucks. This isn't what we wanted. We wanted the Veronica Mars that was around in like 2002.
Sounds like a bunch of toxic fans, if you ask me.
Oh, whiny man babies. How they love their Veronica Mars. Uh, do you want to talk at all? Because you have some comp copies to sell
Oh yeah,
of your AOC and Bernie Sanders. Because I know we've never talked about it publicly, but you took a little bit of flack from various news organizations.
yeah.
And
I think the funniest response was, I mean, it was about because I had to draw Nancy Pelosi, and I think a lot of people when they heard about this and when they saw it, because it is a very striking image that I drew of her, and they were like, "This is what they think of her," and it's literally her, like semi-nude and all fully muscular.
she's
Just so you know,
she's
the
in a
context of
towel.
the story,
Speaking of
this political universe, wherever it's like also like a wrestling universe. So she's supposed to be like this built wrestler, and literally in the script, it was like make sure she looks pretty disgusting, and then like disgusting enough in terms of sweaty and wrinkly, and coming out of the shower and alienates other people.
Well, what's interesting is like you said, they like one of the comments was this is what they think of Nancy Pelosi, and you weren't making a political statement. You were an artist hired to do a job, and it was your first major professional work where you were the primary artist.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it was 5 issue. It's an anthology. Are you talking about the actual penciler and inker? You mean?
Yeah, well, obviously, like there wasn't like one artist on the anthology, but I'm saying you were asked to be the artist for that story.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Which was and it was a fun experience. And that particular story, to be honest, the one they picked, they picked on, it was probably the one that made kind of fun of everybody, even poked fun at some of the Democrats. But yeah, I did. At the time, I was like, oh, I don't know about doing political stuff, but at the same time, it was a gig. It was money, and at the time, I was working. I was working on something that was going to be out for a company, Action Lab, and things were getting stalled with that, and I don't want to go into it. But unfortunately, it's not even going to come out. So that was my first, I guess my first professional thing with my name on it. That's in that was solicited through Diamond to comic book stores.
Well, this is something I hate about politics is, if somebody does something political, in an art medium, and sometimes it's definitely is intended to be political, but even if but whether it is or whether it's not, a lot of times the opposite side of the argument, whatever it may be, will go like, oh, look at this artist is crap, this whatever it is. And I'm like, well, just because you disagree with them doesn't mean that they're not a good artist. Like I see it, in comedy, there's a lot of like far left comedians these days. And you'll see like political commentators like, oh, oh, he's trash or she's trash. And I'm like,
Oh, I did hear the thing like he can't draw women and was based off the Nancy Pelosi thing. And honestly, the face looks like her and it was very built. Like I said, people were just really disturbed about.
You're translating a real human being into I mean, your style isn't super cartoony, but it's still cartoony.
Well, that was the thing too. Is that my art I think suffers. I need to get better at probably adapting to what the needs are. But you can kind of see it. Is like when I originally draw some of the faces, like no, it looks too much like your style. We need to look more realistic, so it looks like her. I'm like, got it.
Well, you do have to do that when you're working for a publisher,
Yeah, oh
but
yeah, totally.
in that particular instance, you're drawing politicians as wrestling superheroes. Like it's like like nobody expects you to be David Mack, you know?
Oh yeah. Well, like I said, I just don't know what people were expecting from a political satire thing.
It was
It's
just
fun
something
enough.
to look on, and the funny thing is, like, you weren't taking a political stance, and we have a friend that, like, I'm not going to name anybody, but that was saying like he was disappointed in you for doing a political book,
Yeah,
and he told me that, and I'm pretty known as being a far right guy, and I was like, well, then you should probably be disappointed in me because I'm the one that told him to do it. You know, like he needs credits. Like it's a job. It doesn't matter if you like the book's coming out whether Travis works on it or not. It's not like, you know, hey Travis, you know, we want to do this book, but we just wouldn't feel right if you didn't do a story in it. You know, like it was coming out, so you took a job.
yeah.
Like
And yeah,
so,
I mean, and actually, probably the other two. I think I have better work in the Bernie book, which, funny enough, generated pretty much zero controversy doing that. Um, I think the book actually sold better because of the controversy on it.
the AOC book.
Oh yeah.
Well, there was a couple controversies. There was one of the cover artists did an illustration that made AOC look like Wonder Woman, and DC sent Devil's Due a cease and desist, and so it ended up being like a handful of people had copies of this cover, and it's banned. You're not allowed. So I think that helped the regular issues sell as well.
Oh yeah. Well, there was a thing was, and actually, because of there was some confusion because they didn't call that the Wonder Woman cover. They did have one that was so there was a normal regular cover. Then there was a version of the regular cover that had her in like a almost like an Amazon gear, almost looking like Wonder Woman. And then there was that painted cover where she was clearly, someone had clearly dressed as Wonder Woman as a reference, and then they drew in AOC's face.
Uh-huh.
But there was confusion on that, and so like the cover B, which was I think Josh Blaylock and Tim Seeley worked on that together, and it was just like a different version of the first cover. That was getting sold pretty well. That was selling pretty well too because people thought that was the controversial one.
You're talking about the one where she's in like the white Amazon gear.
Yeah, well, there's like the normal cover where she's in a white suit,
Uh-huh.
and then there's a different version of that cover where she's still standing on top of the elephant or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's like it looks like a Wonder Woman kind of garb.
Right, but there was one that actually looked like her as Wonder Woman,
Yeah.
in more of a painted style. But and like I said, like the whole thing, like you got mentioned, because I sent it to you, got mentioned in a one of those right wing blogs, and and in fact, a friend of mine, when you started your YouTube channel where you would be doing this,
Oh no.
like I sent him the link, and I was like, hey man, check this out, and he was like, oh my god, you're friends with the Nancy Pelosi guy. He's like, and he wasn't mad, he was just laughing. He was like, that's hilarious, and I was like, yeah, and he wasn't, obviously, like, he doesn't really consider you the AOC guy or something like that, but that was the thing that he had heard of that that you'd done.
Oh yeah, totally. I mean, it's understandable that people would know that just for that. But despite that though, without doing that, I wouldn't have met Josh, and I wouldn't have got the chance to work on Arc World, which is, I mean, it's a non-political book. It's like an action adventure, sci-fi, ancient sci-fi, or what Josh calls archaeopunk. and it's like he describes it as Saga meets Ancient Aliens, and kind of from the direction that I know the story's going, I would say it's almost more like GI Joe meets Ancient Aliens. Um,
I can't wait for the Ancient Alien guys to get his own GI Joe figure.
with Kung Fu Grip. Oh, you went
But
completely silent. That fell flat with you.
uh,
How dare you talk about Kung Fu Grip?
you can't win them all, Travis.
Oh boy. Well, tell me
Now that
about
you
it.
know, and now that you know, knowing is half the battle.
G.I. Joe.
Pretty soon, so you on your channel, you mostly do art stuff, and you show people like how you break things down, and you've been doing these old Marvel card series where you do homages to them.
Oh yeah, and that's kind of what
Um,
I'm doing right now. Which
right,
it's
because the
the
original intent was for you to update the costumes,
yeah.
and you haven't done that on every one of them, like the Spider-Man versus Craven.
Yeah, I did kind of update Cravens, but I realized I could just have more fun with it, updating poses or just doing whatever I wanted.
Uh,
I still kept keeping the parameters of doing it traditional, which I really wanted to do.
well, on my channel, we've been doing a bunch of stuff. I think the best thing that we've done so far is the art convos where we take art books and sort of break down an artist. The first one we did, because we've only done two of them. The first one was two artists, Dave Stevens and uh, his name is escaping me, Urban Barbarian,
Oh, Dan
Dan
Panosian.
Dan Panosian, right, right. Who I want to try and get on the show actually. He has a YouTube channel that he's part of as well. Um, the Drink and Draw Social Club, I think he called it.
Yeah.
And and the second one we did was on because all our stuff ends up being really long. We just chose one artist, and this time it was Darwin Cook, who's a legendary creator who unfortunately died way too soon.
Yeah.
Um, but we've done that. We've been doing. I have a movie rewind series, which that one probably won't always have you in it. It's going to depend on the movie.
I'd say we should do was it Superman Returns, right?
Uh, I just don't. I don't. The thing is, like, I don't hate Superman Returns. It's just not good. Like,
Oof. I
like
hate.
interestingly, Man of Steel, I think is a better film. It's just a much worse Superman story.
Boy, I wish Tim. I know for a fact probably Tim is not watching this, and I kind of wish he was.
Yeah, he and our friend Tim Laddie and another friend of ours, Vernon Smith, both love Superman Returns. Um, and I don't get it at all. It's because the thing is, like, it's this weird. So the whole idea of Superman Returns was that the director Bryan Singer was obsessed with the Richard Donner Superman films, which Richard Donner only did technically one and a half Superman films. They finished Superman 2 without him, and later he did like an edit of his own that I never saw.
Did he?
Yeah. There's a Donner cut.
Oh
This
yeah,
came out.
I do remember that because I actually at the time I think I was working at Best Buy and I remember that coming out.
Yeah, this was about 10 years ago. Maybe more than that. Um, but so the idea was is that it ignored Superman 3 and Superman 4: The Quest for Peace and takes place right after it. And the idea was that Superman, at the end of Superman 2, leaves the planet and goes to make sure Krypton's not there anymore, which is nobody ever talks about that, but that's one of the dumbest things in the movie. Like, there's absolutely no reason. Like, it's not even explained where he got the ship. Like, cause like his ship that he crashed in wasn't designed to go back to Krypton.
That would have been a great way to bring in Star Labs.
Maybe so, but either way, like the whole idea that he leaves Earth to go make sure that Krypton's not there anymore, it just it's an excuse, but it
Yeah.
doesn't make a lot of sense. But
So,
he
real quick, I
comes
hate to
back.
cut you off, Adam. I just wanted to say something about what I'm drawing. I
Sure.
think I'm gonna do to fill in this space a little bit better. I think I might add something in the foreground here, just because I kind of screwed up, and I'm not gonna redraw this guy. I already spent too much time fixing what I was doing, but I think I might because the body probably or the figure should probably be about 10% bigger. So what I'm gonna do is I'm probably gonna draw in maybe another character in the foreground or something like that. Maybe a floating head and they're kind of turning, looking over their shoulder, maybe.
Like a literal floating head, like Wolverine cut someone's head off.
No, well, no, I wasn't talking about that. I was talking about the drawing term.
I know, it was a joke.
I by the way, I can't show this on camera now. I'm gonna have to show you later about someone I typed in Age of Apocalypse Wolverine, and then like Google gives you suggestions. They put some weird stuff suggesting that I might want to click on for
like
shopping.
Age of Apocalypse.
No, not that, not that.
I'd watch that movie.
I bet you would. Maybe I could do the saber tooth. Maybe looking over his shoulder. Age of Apocalypse Sabretooth.
I mean, maybe you could do. Oh wait, no. Blink was Sabretooth's friend in that universe. Uh, hmm, I don't know. I don't know.
Or I can draw in Cyclops about to get, you know, killed by Wolverine.
By the way, anyone who's watching, if you have any questions or
Yeah,
anything you want to
please.
talk about, like that's what the chat's there for.
Yeah,
Um,
feel free to ask a question. For anyone new that's joining or didn't join in yesterday, I'm kind of doing my own thing for MainFrame Con. There's an Artist Alley page, which I'm on the website, mainframecomiccon.com. You can actually go there and check that out. There's other artists, that have a web store. I have a web store open. It's www.arttravishemel.com, Hymel. And I have some art from these draw card things I've been doing. I don't have yesterday's up for sale, but these are for sale. People are interested, they can hit me up. I don't have the Sabretooth one over here. But they are for sale. And also, I did, if you are on the Mainframe Comic Con website, I did the variant cover that's the exclusive for the con, for the book Arc World. And yeah, it was kind of cool. I did the interiors of that book as well. When I was saying yesterday, when I came onto that book, he already had a main cover and some variant covers already made. Because originally there was a different artist who was going to work on it, and then he dropped out. I think I might be remembering this wrong. But I ended up doing interiors, but I didn't get a chance to do a cover. And this opportunity came up, and of course, I jumped at it. And I think it came out pretty good. I usually hate a lot what I did, but it came out pretty good. So definitely check that out. Half the proceeds, I believe, do go to a charity as well.
um, Going back slightly, I love that Phoenix sketch that you did yesterday. I think that's one of the
Yeah,
best things you've done.
I think that was the top one. Yeah, and I think what makes that work so well is that because it's on this tone paper, that the white pen I use makes that pop off the paper a little bit
Hmm.
by doing that
Well,
border.
it's that. It's also the brush strokes that you did
Oh yeah,
for
on
the
here.
negative space. That really helped a lot.
Yeah, because
But
it was a
overall,
particular brush pen, and for those of you not knowing how stuff is made, a lot of times traditionally, you can use a brush and ink, which I have like a thing of ink here, and I don't normally do that. I am not too confident in my skills with that. They do make brush pens though, and this one in particular, I've had used it a while, like a long time ago, and just because it's older, the felt tip that because it's a felt tip on here, it's a little rugged. So when you bring it across paper, you get a lot more texture in the brush strokes if you look closely. If the camera's gonna focus, but yeah, you get a lot more texture and some cool effects, especially for doing this kind of energy flowing off or something like that. I don't know what you would call what that would be up there. It doesn't really matter, but it looks cool.
It's just energy, fire,
Yeah,
the Phoenix effect.
yeah, and you could use that for fur. I might use it on Wolverine's hair in this. I just need to figure out what I'm gonna draw in this foreground.
Pull it
Just to
back
fill
some.
that space.
But yeah, no, really cool. And Carlos D'Anda, one of my favorite artists, he uses different colored and textured papers for a lot of his sketches, and yeah, it can definitely add a lot, especially if you're choosing the color to match the character.
Yeah,
It can because I'm a photographer and I do black and white images, but I also use what's called split toning, which is where you can change the shadows and the highlights of an image to a specific color. And you shouldn't overuse it. You shouldn't have something that's just purple, but if you do it subtly enough in the right way, it adds emotion to an image. Like color has an effect on your psyche. Like that's a proven psychological fact.
yeah. Well, and I probably could have done what you were saying if I had better pins to that. I could have probably done a lot more white on there, and drew her in that way. But that one
I
was
mean,
fun. I'm gonna
it
grab the
came out.
saber tooth one real quick and show that on the screen.
No, I mean that Phoenix came out perfect. I would say though, like if you have any more red, like maybe one day do the white pin to do like Flash.
Yeah, that'd kind of be cool. Oh, you know what? Saber tooth is right here. It was on my drawing desk the entire time. Here we go. And when you see that, I did use that same felt brush. This one came out cool. Not the biggest. I kind of fuck. Oh god, I almost finished cursing. That there's an
You almost
arm in.
fudged up.
Huh?
You almost fudged up.
Yeah, almost fudged up. Yeah, Sabretooth came out. I was happy with that one enough. But yeah, I think the Dark Phoenix is the best one though, of the bunch. And now, just so you know, if you're wondering what I'm drawing in now, I'm actually gonna draw an Age of Apocalypse Cyclops about to get something by Wolverine messed up.
Yeah,
Fudged up.
that Sabretooth I had been telling you, you can see how much you love the '90s X-Men cartoon because it has that style with Wolverine there. Like I mean not Wolverine, Sabretooth.
Yeah.
You can definitely see.
Oh, well, I mean, people can probably see some of the action figures behind me. I'm a big '90s Toy Biz fan and X-Men fan, and I think that's why I gravitate to some of these properties. Maybe I keep being indecisive. You know what? I'm not gonna be indecisive. I'm gonna keep drawing the Cyclops in because I just realized he has like part of the hair. His hair is like covering half his face because he only has one eye in this version for Cyclops.
Yeah, but his hair, if I remember right, he always put it to one side or the other.
Yeah.
So just have it swooping over the opposite eye.
Yeah. But if anyone's watching and has any questions right now live, be sure to shout out. We're just kind of talking about comic stuff, and Adam was talking about cons before. My first con, by the way, was like I remember my mom took me. It was like something happening in around Clearview, I believe. It's like some hotel out there, some random hotel. This is back in the '90s when they would just do these random conventions.
Yeah, they were called dealer rooms.
Yeah.
New Orleans used to have a ton of dealer room shows, but no real comic book convention for a while.
Yeah, wasn't until later, and then there was Ronnie Prudhomme, whose family had run Paper Gold on the West Bank and in Louisiana. He eventually did his own con, the NOLA Comic Con, and that was one of the ones where I probably enjoyed, at least in my home state, because I had gone to Dragon Con, and Dragon Con was fun. There's not a huge focus on comic book stuff, even though they had some pretty cool artists. Like actually, when I went to Dragon Con, I want to say in 2006, 2007, something like that. I met Sanford Green and got like a very early one of his early sketchbooks that he had released, and his style has completely changed since then. I think most recently he did like Heroes for Hire thing, because I know he did some Iron Fist and Luke Cage, and I think his own Image creator-owned book called Bitter Root. Bitter Root. That was kind of cool to see, and it's kind of cool to see some of the artists I liked when I was younger, and like how much their art style has changed. It's really cool to see.
Shout out to Jesse Elliott, who's watching this and drawing as well while he's watching.
Oh man, hey Jesse, what's going on, bud? I
Again,
don't see him
feel
pop
free
up in the
to,
chat though.
huh?
I don't see him in the chat. I have a screen up and I don't see anything.
He's not chatting. He messaged me on Facebook. But
What
yeah,
the heck, dude?
feel free folks to like post a comment, ask a question, whatever. I do want to mention I'll use the Mainframe Comic Con as a platform. I'm going to try and organize my own online comic book convention. Well, it's probably not just going to be a comic book convention, but mostly comics, and I'm going to try and organize a bunch of live streams. Some of it might be more adult oriented. We'll see, but we'll definitely have what is and isn't age appropriate listed.
We're drawing bare chest areas. Is that what you're saying?
I'd be happy to have like a drunken nude drink and draw.
Is you...
Are you? What I'm saying is, Travis, I want you to draw with your shirt off.
I was about to say. Actually, it's funny you talk about that, but you don't drink.
I don't. Curiously, I helped organize a drink and draw for several years,
Yeah.
or at least a year, and I've never been a drinker.
Yeah. By the way, Jesse, if you're listening, post up what you were drawing later on. I'm curious. I saw that he did a really cool Final Fantasy piece. Did you see that, Adam?
Yeah, I did. A tribute to the re-release of Final Fantasy
Yeah,
VII.
very, very well done.
Yeah, I talked to Jesse about doing a piece for me a few years ago. I was thinking about hitting him up. If you're listening, Jesse, it might not be good to do it right now because of money being what it is, but I think I need a new avatar. And I had talked to him about a piece with me as Ghost Rider, but without with the flaming head, but without the skull.
Yeah.
So, might be fun at some point when I have a job again.
Well, it sounds like a cool idea.
Well, you've done a lot of great art for me over the years. You did cover art for two podcasts that I was on, Metal Hand of God, which was a tribute to the Wu-Tang Clan.
Yeah, that was a fun one.
And you also did cover art for Grim Grunting Hosts, and which they still, I'm not on it anymore. They still use it.
Yeah. No,
And
next time, guys, they hit me up to add there was it Brad Jost?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't like butchering people's last names because people butcher my last name all the time.
He's my replacement. I don't care.
I mean, you're still in the cover photo.
Yeah, it looks like it says, shall we say, goose bag number two.
I mean, you're the biggest goose bag I know.
It's probably true. um, but yeah, I mean, essentially, it's still the same. But you did like really amazing art for that. You also have done a couple pieces like for those podcasts beyond. I don't know how many people saw, but you did a haunted mansion tribute, and that was really cool. Which you ought to show on your Instagram because I thought it was like really
I thought
really.
I did when I originally had done it.
Huh?
I thought I did when I originally done that.
Well, but you more people you've added followers since then. I mean, why not?
Yeah.
You also did the poster art for M Hog's 500th episode, which was a tribute to
500, 300. I almost said 500 because it was your 500th episode.
right. Well, I mean that was the joke, obviously, and there's a little funny story behind that because originally when I asked you to do it, I said if you want, you can draw the other guys in the background, but I'm paying for this, so I want me to be the central figure with. And originally, it was just going to be a poster of me with 500 behind it, and but you were like, no, I'll draw the other guys. So you drew it, and I'm still a central figure, and you drew one of the members, the rum guy, really fat for some reason. like I actually had to ask you to like tone it down. I was like, we're all a little pudgy, but like rum's not that fat.
I mean, I thought you had told me directly, and if Rum Guy somehow sees this, he specifically asked me to say, "Hey, could you pudge him up a lot?" And I was like, "Isn't that mean?" And you were like, "No, it's Rum Guy. He deserves it." And I'm glad he's hurt. And at the time, that's after his accident. I can't believe you asked me to do that, especially when he was so hurt.
Anyway, you also drew him as the villain from 300.
Okay, come on. That's kind of comically that's fitting.
You drew him as Xerxes, which so he looked like a fat guy in a chair with like a giant like wart. Like
In my defense, at the time, the man unfortunately was hurt, and I thought it'd be funny if he was in like the Xerxes chair.
Yeah, this is great. In your live in your live stream talking about making fun of like the handicapped. Great job, Travis.
Oh, but, come on, it's not that bad.
But the funny thing was, like when they saw it, they were talking privately, Wayne and Rum, and like everyone's comment was like, "Look at Adam. Adam has abs," and Wayne's response was, "You know why, huh? Like why? Because he paid for it." which was 100% the truth.
Yeah.
I'm not known for my abs.
Oh, yeah, I'm well aware of this, especially when we've done recordings before and you just want to wear a tank top. I can clearly tell that you don't have a six-pack or that you work out.
I asked you if that looked bad, and you said I looked fine.
Yeah, I said you look fine.
You're a jerk.
Hey, dude, sometimes I lie to you just so I don't hurt your feelings.
I'm gonna tell your wife.
Like when I say you're one of my best friends, I obviously don't really mean like a best friend, like a good acquaintance.
You dirty mother father.
You know Tim Laddie to me, dude. I mean, that dude's got my back.
I know. I don't know why you associate with me when you got like a friend like Tim Laddie. You should be hanging out with him 24/7.
Oh boy, if he probably won't watch this. That'd be funny if he did.
But I don't know. It's funny. Like all you can see is like the number of people watching, but it doesn't tell you Like, did one person leave and a new person show up? So
I guess that sometimes happens. Also, something I need to keep in mind too. More people are just kind of tuning in either on Facebook if they're just passing the video if it has it on autoplay.
Oh, this is played on Facebook as well.
I mean, if they share the link, I think it might autoplay. I'm not sure.
Oh yeah, yeah. I guess that wouldn't show up.
Because that's what I was telling people yesterday. Because if they're commenting on the Facebook, I'm not going to see it.
That's all right. Well, but if you're joining us like later on,
yeah,
Travis is drawing Wolverine and Cyclops from the Age of Apocalypse alternate universe.
I'm not gonna do it too much longer because I gotta cook in a bit, but probably gonna be on another 20, 30 minutes.
That's cool. I gotta go cook too. But thank you for whoever's watching, and again, we're gonna try and do our own online comic convention. It'll function a little bit differently, but I think it'll be valuable, especially if we can get the people involved. And Jesse, if you're still watching, you're more than welcome
invited.
To. Man, why artists always got to compete? Can't we all just get along? But yeah. So I mean, I'm such a fan of the Age of Apocalypse stuff. Like, I'm glad. Like, it's one of those things that should kind of stay where it is. They made sequels that sucked.
Yeah.
But
by the way, what do you think of Cyclops in there? This is not to make a joke about it, just put in as a foreground. I think it works, huh?
Yeah, it works. It works.
Right. Let's lighten. I'm using a kneaded eraser right now and just kind of lightening up some of the pencil and lifting up. Because I'm going to tighten them up a little bit more, and then I'm just going to go right into inking.
But you had so many great artists, like, because Marvel had a problem when the Image guys left. They had these new artists who eventually became amazing artists, but when they started, like, they were just trying to keep up. Like, Andy Kubert was not quite ready to be the lead X-Men artist when he started, but by the time, a couple of years in, like, he became like probably one of the best X-Men artists ever. But when you got to by the time Age of Apocalypse was around, they had like this renewed group of artists that like Joe Mad Herrera on Astonishing X-Men. Like I said, Andy Kubert was doing the other X-Men book. I don't remember what it was called. Adam Kubert was doing Weapon X. You had Chris Bacalo doing Generation Next. Lee Weeks was doing. No, wait. Maybe Lee Weeks wasn't in that.
Oh, wait, didn't Joe Mad do I think he did an Age of Apocalypse variant cover or something.
He did Astonishing X-Men.
Okay.
He was the artist on Astonishing X-Men. Tony Daniels was doing Gambit in the Externals, which was probably one of the more interesting ones because like most of the series took place on Earth, and in Gambit and the Externals, there was this space pirate story that they were doing, and it's just a lot of fun, a lot of creativity, and sometimes with American comics things can get stale because as fans, like, we want things to change, but not too much, and we can be very resistant to change.
I think it's you have to find a balance to it because you can easily upset the fans. I know we talked about it on one. I'm not going to go into the whole New Warriors thing, but like for instance, I'd love to see more with those characters with the original New Warriors. And I know that they're not going to be a focus, obviously, from what it looks like, from what it was painted.
I think that goes back to what I was saying earlier. Like, you can't go home again. Like, you're never going to have the New Warriors series from the 90s. Like, it's just not. It's not feasible, And that said, I do agree with you in that I don't think those characters should have went away. I know when Kurt Busiek and George Perez rebooted Avengers after Heroes Return, they brought Justice and Firestar in, and so they had like a moment where they were brought back into the main Marvel universe. But these characters have kind of gone away, and they're fun. Like like Speedball became a joke,
Yeah.
Frequently throughout the Marvel universe, and Speedball's a fun character. I mean, you drew him the other day. I'm sure he's a fun character to draw.
He was actually, and when I was drawing it and I was looking at, he does I guess when he was drawing, he does a lot of Spider-Man type poses. They're kind of fun to draw. I personally thought it came out okay. Color pencils I needed to practice more with before I undertook that, but other than that, it came out pretty good. Also, I think the Wolverine's face I'm working on, I think that's coming out pretty good for what it is.
Meh.
Oh, whatever, dude.
No, I'm kidding.
Because it is pretty when it was drawn, it's very more it's a little bit more animalistic. I think this is like sometime before they made him mutate more, and he like had no nose for a bit, and then wore this bandana for his mask.
That was actually a couple years before. So what you're thinking of?
Oh, really? I thought that was that this Age of Apocalypse was that came out before.
Yes, Age of Apocalypse came out several years before the Wolverine no nose thing. That came about after Fatal Attractions when he lost his healing factor. For some reason, someone decided at Marvel that would cause him to become an animal, which for some reason included him losing his nose. And that was right before Onslaught.
Yeah.
And no one really liked that look. It was a pretty horrible design. And eventually, like, someone at Marvel just got rid of it and just didn't bring it up again.
Yeah, and they eventually brought back his adamantium.
Yeah. Yeah, that was during the 12 storyline.
Because I remember Wizard Magazine made a big deal about that when that was happening in the comics.
Like I said, fans, I mean, you can play with it a little bit. You can change things to a degree, but at the end of the day, fans want the characters that they grew up with. You know, they don't want somebody's idea of what these characters should be like. And that can be, detrimental, obviously. But, it's our money.
Yeah, and that's what's interesting now, though, compared to then. And it's interesting you say that about, it's our money. People really vote more with their wallets now, more than anything. And I think that's really exploded into, Kickstarter and Indiegogos because now we're at the point for different, not just comics, for different creative outlets that you don't really need a third party you don't need a music label to put out music anymore if you want to put your music out there and make money. And the same goes for comics. You don't necessarily need a publisher to make comics or to make your comics. Because also, I think a lot of people starting up as artists, or even writers or just creators in general, have a misconception that they think if they get on with the indie book, that they're going to start getting money up front, and that's not how a lot of these independents work. They pay in quarterly royalties a lot of times. Some might pay up front for like a page rate or something, and that's usually if it's a licensed property or if it's a creator who just wants to get people on board. But that's not what happens. And you have to ask yourself when you're part of that creator-owned pitch, like you pitch a story. And they accept it. It's like, okay, we'll publish it, but you're not going to get paid to produce it. So you have to produce that book. and then once that's out, and a lot of publishers, they want all the books in your miniseries or your series to be done before it's even solicited to Diamond. I'm not gonna go into that either because things might be changing with Diamond. Who knows for sure? But yeah, it's not it's you don't necessarily need a publisher necessarily anymore. Things really are kind of changing.
Yeah, we'll see. Really, what was? I mean, everybody has theories, and that's one thing I hate about right now is like listening to people talk like, "Oh, this is going to happen. This is going to happen." It's like, dude, nobody has a clue,
Yeah.
and I don't know. Like, let's not discuss the idea that it's all this is ending, and all this is going to change until we actually know what's going to happen.
Oh yeah, and I know we talked about this off air about doom and gloom kind of stuff, and I want stores to be around, and I think they're a big part of what makes comic books great. Um, a lot of what I found over the years in terms of my comics are due to the people who work there giving me recommendations um, and such like that. It's just more of a sense of community.
Yeah,
I mean, and you worked. You worked for a good bit at BSI.
yeah. It was an interesting time in my life. I love comics, and I love getting to recommend comics to kids and even adults. And I'm very good at it. I'm very good at like helping people uh, find stories that they enjoy, and I firmly believe that comics are the best way to get kids to learn to love reading. I used to hate it when you would get parents in who would, their kid dragged them there and they're just rolling their eyes like, oh, I hate that my kid, isn't loves this crap,
Did you
like,
really have that happen?
oh yeah, oh absolutely. No, there's a lot of parents who have like really backwards views about comics,
That's
and
weird.
well, I mean, I get that people don't get it, but again, like, what would you rather your kid doing? Like, would you rather them be spending money on comics or on drugs? Like you
I don't
take
know.
your pick.
Depends. I mean, you can't collect drugs, right? Drugs aren't gonna go up in price if I get it slabbed.
Yeah, Travis, that's probably true.
Your disappointment in me is very evident in your tone of voice.
Is that a new thing?
Oh. Um, for we're down in viewers, but if anyone's watching on Facebook or whatever, take a trip over to Mainframe Comic Con. It's still going on. If you go to the web store, I did the official variant cover that's featured on Arc World, written by Josh Blaylock, colored by Jason Smith, and lettered by Micah Myers. Um, yeah, it's a really cool cover I got the chance to do. You can also visit my web store at www.arttravishemail.com, and I have some stuff up for sale there that's separate from the variant cover. And what I'm working on now, I'm just kind of touching up my pencils of Weapon X Age of Apocalypse Wolverine with Cyclops kind of added in because I might mess it up a little bit. I am joined by my buddy Buck Adam, or Buck Lightning, Adam from Lightning Culture. And I also go and do videos with Adam on that channel as well. Adam, you got anything you wanted to plug as well?
Mostly lightning culture. And like I said, I'll try to have everything organized this week for the online comic convention I'm going to try and do. And
Yeah.
I think it'll be fun if we can get the people involved that we want involved. Hell, if Josh Blaylock is interested in doing like something for Arc World, but my thing is I'd rather have like I mean I like you're one of my best friends. I enjoy obviously because we do a lot of stuff together. I enjoy talking to you, but I'd like to see you talking about Arc World with him,
Yeah.
like and I'm not insulting Mainframe or anything like that. Everybody has their way of doing things, but you know, I think people would be interested in seeing what goes into making a comic, and there's a lot, and I mean, even the two of y'all can't completely explain it. You have people, like the colorist, the letterer, like there's so many people involved.
Josh is an interesting guy to get on here too, and actually, you and John Lord might enjoy that because he was a big thing of getting GI Joe back into the mainstream of comics, and when 2000 came, I think 2000 he started Devil's Due and started doing GI Joe comics and brought back a lot of 80s properties like Transformers. The Transformers I think went somewhere else after because someone else got the license early on. But he also did like Micronauts for a bit as well.
That's cool.
Okay, it was like dead air for a second. It's like, did I lose you?
Sorry, I was just typing something.
But yeah, he was known as the 80s. Oh, also Voltron. I can't forget that. They did some Voltron stuff as well. And that was before IDW got the license for a lot of that.
Did you ever watch any of the Netflix Voltron?
Yes. We've talked about it. I've really only watched up to the third season, and I just dropped off after that. It kind of became a chore to watch.
It did meander, but it picks up again.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I ended up just skipping through like episodes during seasons, which I do a lot. I do it for a lot of shows, even shows I like. Sometimes I'm just like Community. I'll which they brought onto Netflix. That I'll look at it and go like, like I don't feel like watching this episode. Like, where's the good episode? Where's the GI Joe episode? That's the one.
Actually, yeah. So that one's one of my favorites, and I also like the Halloween one where they eat the tainted taco meat or whatever that was supposed to be.
Yeah, the zombie one.
Yeah, I actually really enjoyed that episode.
Yeah, that episode was fun. They did a lot of fun stuff.
The video game. There's a video game one. There's the one where, what is it? It was the Christmas episode where it was like the stop motion, animation. Hold on, I'm just grabbing a ruler real quick. I know it's behind me.
Yeah, you're talking about the oh god, what I can't even think of it. What it is? The guys who did
Celebrity Deathmatch, I think it was.
No, the art style was Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer.
Yeah, but I think the people that animated it was because it was very similar to how that was done, or Robot Chicken maybe.
Man, I cannot think of what the name of the company. Oh well, I'm getting older.
Well, that's very evident.
Well, look, man, I need to go cook myself.
Yeah,
so
I'm gonna be jumping off in a few minutes though, but I'm probably gonna be keeping this up. I ran a little bit longer. We were kind of just talking and having a good time, so I'll probably ink this on another.
Well, your original statement was like 45 minutes. I was like, that doesn't seem like a lot of time.
Yeah. Oh no, and I ended up being taking extra time just putting Cyclops in here, but sketch kind of looks good. I might tweak a few other things before.
Yeah, I'm definitely interested to see how it turns out.
Yeah, same here. Could tighten up Cyclops a little bit more, but yeah, let's go ahead. I'll just go ahead and end this right now.
Look, if you want, like you said, if you want to do it in a few hours. I might be available. It depends on what time.
Yeah, let me see, and we'll do one more. Maybe we we can get someone else involved too, if they behave.
especially if it's voices. But the I mean, I know we're live streaming, but like it's gonna stay on your channel, so
Yeah.
people are interested.
Yeah.
Cool. Well,
Well, I appreciate you being on, sir. Did you want to plug yourself one more time for anything you have going on?
oh no, I can go plug myself when I'm off.
Oh, whatever, dude. All right.
All right, dude. Talk to you soon.
All right. Talk to you soon.
Bye.
And for anyone else still watching, thanks very much for watching. Check out MainFrameComicCon.com to get my variant cover that I did. And you can go to artofTravisHemel.com if you want to check out my web store. Thanks.